And we're live. I think we're live. I need a little red light on top of my monitor to let me know when we are actually live.
That's the power button.
Countdown. What's that?
That's the power light.
The, the power light. So when the power light turns on, that's when I'm supposed to talk. That's probably not the best of ideas because that means I have to talk all the time. My computer's on. Well, could be fun at the office, anyways. So yeah, we've got a fantastic conversation coming up. Today is October the 10th. We're coming to you live from various locations throughout the world. I'm coming to you from Colorado. I'm on location with a customer today. Um, so I am John. You are watching episode 22. The title of this is Catch 22. And yeah, we've got to my right or stage left. I'm not sure which way it's arranged on the display. Mike.
Hey, everybody. We've also got Artie with us.
Yep, I am running things behind the scenes. And last but not least, we got Jackson.
Hey everybody, my name's Jackson. I am here, as Artie would say, since he doesn't. No, but let's jump into it. This week, Marriott Hotels and its subsidiary Starwood Hotels will have to pay $52 million and create a comprehensive information security program. Now, this is coming from Bleeping Computer. And all of this as part of settlements for a data breach, for I think several data breaches actually, that impacted over 344 million customers. So that's a pretty big payout. And as I was actually reading this, who's getting the money? How come we don't get the money, right? Isn't it our data?
I look forward to the day when the data is ours and the payment is ours when the data is mishandled, not some other agency that has decided it's theirs, and then lawyers getting on top of that to take the class action distributions and stuff. 52 million divided by all those.
20
Actually,
cents
not a lot
each.
of money.
Not a lot.
I want my 20 cents.
Yeah, your entire personal information, your username, password, social security number, that's how much it's
It's
worth.
worth 20 cents. I could buy half a stamp. No, actually, not even a half a stamp.
You could buy
I
a
could
stick
lick the
of
corner
gum.
of a stamp.
So it looks like the FTC was accusing both companies for failing to upkeep, proper data security and poor password controls. And so the settlement, part of the settlement is that they will have to establish the following measures: establish a comprehensive information security program, limit data retention to what is necessary, allow customers to request reviews of unauthorized activity, and provide a way for customers to request deletion of personal information linked to their email or loyalty account. So I think that's the one, and I know I've actually caught wind of this on social media of, Supreme, or not Supreme Court, but Senate hearings where, they summon people and they, grill them up there. And I didn't know which company it was, but, they ask, well, someone can disable geolocation services, but what the person that was there was testifying is that they're still collecting that data. So I'm sure someone will have to pay something for that. But I mean, it's just getting, what's good about this is that you receive more control over your data, and especially being able to delete that or disable certain services, I think is important. But then again, it's always just the word of the company. You can switch that off and say, yeah, don't track me anymore. But then again, it's like, well, who's checking? How do you know if they're actually not tracking you?
I'm not one for advocating for more regulation, but this is one where I think a standard presentation would be very helpful. So, like on the outside of a can of soda or a loaf of bread, there's a list of ingredients. how awesome would it be if you went into your account settings and it said all the things that keeps about you in a standard format, like an ingredients list? Just I keep your name, your social security number, your mother's maiden name, your blood type, your firstborn's kindergarten teacher's name, all that stuff. What do you save from my life on your web page so I can rent a hotel room? We don't know.
I like that idea. Yeah, the your nutrition facts for cybersecurity.
They did put regulation out there for internet speeds. Comcast, Spectrum, Cox cable out there in the West Coast, Verizon, all of them are supposed to have a uniform presentation to say what speeds, what contract duration, but I'm still waiting for that to roll out in a meaningful way.
That actually, I believe, is supposed to be later this month is the cutoff date before they start getting fined
Mhm.
for not having it. Even like the municipal that I'm on has their little card on their website for anybody that wants to go look at it to say, hey, here's what we've got for you.
I think it's an important thing for people to know what it is they're buying and what it is, um, what the terms and conditions are for the unspoken side of things. So
Mhm.
metadata is worth more than the data itself, right? What did they do? What did they search? What did they spend their time looking at on the e-commerce webpage? It's more important than just a logon password.
Yep. That's how
I mean,
Google makes its money. Google Ads,
mhm.
I mean, the market there is incredibly huge. The amount of money that Google makes from Google Ads, it is by far the most profitable part of Google.
What
And
I've
it's
been
all based
reading, it's
on
the
And
only profitable part of Google.
I believe it too. I mean, if you consider the amount of I mean, YouTube, I don't know about that one. I mean, they do show ads on YouTube, but it's not like Google search.
YouTube is not profitable, not even close.
Yeah.
You compare the number of users that watch YouTube for free versus anybody that's actually paying for the premium level of YouTube, like YouTube TV, et cetera, and I'm sure that it's a huge disparity between the two numbers.
Hmm.
I got to confess, I broke down and paid for YouTube Premium, so I didn't have to deal with ads. It was a game changer. It made YouTube enjoyable again.
I've done it. I did like the 1 month, 2 months free for premium, and I have to admit, I did like it. Watching my favorite channels uninterrupted all the way through. So
I'd be curious to know how much does a YouTube Premium subscription cost? Is it monthly, yearly, more or
I think
less?
it's $12 a month currently.
12
I,
bucks a month. How
well,
many videos do you have to watch getting ads for Google to then start making more money than that? I wonder.
don't know.
It'd have
I
to
do
be
know
a
that
lot because it's cents, it's pennies, that you
I do know as a creator the premium watchers give more revenue to the creators than your standard AdSense.
hmm, yeah, you must be having to watch like videos nonstop to make more than 12.
Yeah, I can't afford that challenge. I'd like to. Only if the videos are meaningful, entertaining, or substantive. Good conversations. Speaking of good conversations, what did the hackers get away with at Marriott? They got all kinds of data, right?
I believe so. I'm trying to let me see what exactly they said that they got. But I mean it was across 7,000 properties across 130 countries. I mean this was a huge like worldwide broad data breach. As far
All
as
saved on one server.
oh, here we go. N- Uh, 339 million Starwood guest account records, including 5.25 million unencrypted passport numbers, not passwords. Passport numbers,
That's worse.
which was breached, so get this, in 2014, but was only detected in 2018.
Only took 4 years.
4 years.
In some places, I'd like to say better late than never.
Now, are we talking about actual like government passport numbers? Or are we talking about was passport like a thing that they do internally for their guests?
It just says passport numbers. I don't know.
Mm.
Another one was card information. That was also in 2014, which was only disclosed a little over a year later, which is way too much time. And then the third one was Marriott, and that was 5.2 million guest records were exposed, including names, email, postal address, phone, date of birth, and loyalty account information, which I'm not sure what that pertains. So this was in 2018, and it took Marriott until February of 2020 to figure this out and notify everyone. Which is just how embarrassing. If you
I
are,
go stronger words than that.
yeah, I mean, like,
You should know when there's a hacker in your network.
not 4 years later, and then somehow realize, oh, we've been exposed.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's us. Oh,
Mike, how many servers do you know where they retain logs for 4 years? They knew about this when it happened, guys. I'm gonna say there's no way they sat around for 4 years and say, "Gosh, I'm gonna do a search. Did anybody break in 5 years ago? No? Okay. How about 4 years ago? Oh, there's somebody. No.
Well, I wonder if, I
unless they
mean,
really had an IT department that just really wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, but if they're not paying attention, why are they keeping logs for that long? Something doesn't add up there in my mind.
well, I'm curious if maybe they find someone selling it.
Set
I'll
it and
bet you.
forget it.
And then they
Unlock.
say, "Oh shoot, that's our info from 4 years ago." I wonder if that's what it is, or they are just incompetent and. But at that point, I mean, what is the legal timeline for companies to disclose when they know that they've had a data breach? I mean, they're held to a certain
70,
standard, aren't they?
72 hours.
Yeah, like
But that's also a recent development.
Yeah, no, I think that should have turned into you got a week to disclose this, guys. No grandfather into old lackadaisical habits.
mhm.
I strongly feel that it's our data that they're holding on to. We should have rights to that, and we should be able to tell them you can keep it. No, you can't keep it. You charge me more to delete it. Fine, that's your prerogative, but don't hang on to my data. I did a search on that national public data breach that was out there. I encourage everybody to go search their names and see exactly how bad is for yourselves. Because and let's put a tag in here. Freeze your credit. I'm not going to ask you guys if you froze your credit because I know all of you have frozen your credit. This is good. We're actually Mike and I did a cybersecurity training session with one of our clients, and it was a little interesting watching their eyes just start to bug out when they realize exactly what we were telling them, that their data is out there right now and it's a matter of time. It's like Russian roulette with a 7,000 barrel gun. They
More
will
than
get
that,
you.
probably though. But
7 million? No, what was it? 2.9 billion records.
yeah,
Well, speaking of
Well-
hackers getting into things, who had the idea of Internet Archive? Was that yours, Mike?
Yeah, that was me. Internet Archive. I got a text message from uh from my wife, and I think it came from her sister or something, but that there was a breach report in his Internet Archive and everything. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And so yeah, Internet Archive, and they found that
For those who don't know what it is, what is Internet Archive?
the Internet Archive is the archive of all things on the internet, namely web pages and everything. They have what they call the Wayback Machine. So there's lots of companies that are no longer. They've either been bought up in acquisitions or merged with other companies or just have gone out of business. And yet the Internet Archive has been crawling different web pages and pulling as much a snapshot of that website as much as it can so that you can go back and look. So, I mean, think of back in the days when there were a lot more cellular companies than we have now. We have, what, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Remember Singular? You remember Nextel? Do you remember? There's a whole bunch of others that we used to talk about and know about. You can go back and
Cricket?
find their web pages. Yeah, Cricket, whole bunch of those. So just lots of different things that for historical purposes, they keep track of that. It's also expanded to also include digitized forms of different media, which they've gotten themselves into a little bit of hot water with copyright laws and all that stuff as well. That's for a discussion another day. But as part of their service, you can log in with a user account to contribute to or add to the archive. And
How do you add to the archive as a user? I mean, what options do I have? Do you
upload
offer up?
stuff. Yeah, scan books and upload books that are out of print or something like that.
Oh. As you say that, I just realized that's where I've snagged some of my textbooks from. Is it an archive?
Allegedly.
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 Fine.
Okay. Anywho, users were first made aware of this, and the clue came when visitors to the website got a JavaScript alert pop up that says, "Have you ever felt like the Internet Archive runs on sticks and is constantly on the verge of suffering a catastrophic security breach? It just happens. See 31 million of you on HIBP," which refers to "Have I been pwned?" And sure enough, you go there and you can type in your credentials and find out if it's been breached, and comes up that you have. They estimate that, I think, what was it? Yeah, 31 million user accounts. Now, from also what I understand is that the information includes email addresses, screen names, their password change timestamps, and hashed passwords. So
So these were all
fortunately, not
stored.
in clear text.
Where
At least
were
they're
all these
hashed.
stored?
A
Like,
database. I'm sure it was a database hack of some sort.
Okay.
also, get this, it is currently offline.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
Because
functioning.
as soon as I got that message, the recommendation is, go change your password, right? So I try to go to change my password and I can't pull up the site. So I'm
Their Twitter says sorry, but DDoS folks are back. Now, this was posted by Brewster Cali. I don't know how to say his name, but I mean, this was Internet Archive retweeting this, so maybe he must be a representative or something. He says, sorry, but DDoS folks are back and knocked archive.org and openlibrary.org offline. At Internet Archive is being cautious and prioritizing keeping data safe at the expense of service availability. So that's the
Don't
latest
mess with
from
their
them.
archive, guys. I mean, we need that archive to prove, humanity had a milestone here and a milestone here, and a milestone here. It's
Mm,
one way we could prevent history from being rewritten.
right.
Okay, I've got
Although
a
I think all of us should download our own little slice of the Internet Archive, so if it does go offline, we can rebuild it.
Mhm.
so I've got a question that came up just a little bit ago. You mentioned passwords being hashed. What does that mean?
A passwords being hashed or encrypted in such a way that there's only, ideally, you want it encrypted in such a way that there's only one key that will decrypt the hashed version of the password. Okay. So obviously, there are different encryption or hash algorithms. Some are stronger than others. You hope that the website in question is using an extremely strong version of that encryption. Some websites, the reason why the compromise happens is because they feel that they're secure because, okay, well, it's encrypted, it's hashed, it's saved in a form that doesn't make sense, and I have to have a key to unlock that, when in fact the hashing algorithm is a very weak one. And so even though they think they're safe, when that compromise happens, the hackers figure out, oh, they're using a weak encryption. We can just decrypt it with this
Mhm.
little tool here. And next thing you know, they have clear text passwords that they can use to log into different user accounts.
Gotcha.
Now,
So, but
correct me
it's
if
the
I'm
fact that they
wrong.
have it, the fact that they have it gives them a large data set. We're talking 31 million people here, and that could contribute to an ability to ultimately find a way to decrypt it.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you hash something, it's really just like an algorithm or mathematical operation. I mean, in simple terms, like it's a one-way math problem essentially,
Yep.
where and that's how because I mean a cipher anyone can undo.
Hmm.
Uh, there's you can write I can write a script in Python or whatever to undo any sort of a cipher that's just basic. This letter equals this letter. But
Hmm.
a hash is essentially doing math on the ASCII values or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's
Hmm.
a one-way math problem.
Yep. Ideally, it should be a one-way math problem.
The way I explain it to people, it's like you remember when you were a little kid and you first got a hold of a calculator, you type numbers plus, type numbers times, put, and you just keep typing and typing and typing and just, hey, look, Ma, see what number I came up with? Isn't that a big number? If you wrote down all the steps you took to get there, you could reproduce that number. And so you could kind of think of that as like an algorithmic hash. How do you obscure what you put in to be something that is unintelligible to anybody that reads it and not reversible? Well, I'll tell you, it's good that they did hash that. Um, so I'm checking out CNET, and this got posted just recently. Meta got a slap on the wrist Friday. I don't know what Friday was that? That
How
was
how
September
hard of a slap?
27th Friday. It was $102 million slap,
Pocket
91
change.
million euros for breaking the European strict rules on privacy.
So that.
And who
Apparently,
gets the payout to that? The government or its
oh yeah,
users? Of
oh yeah,
course.
no, but yeah, this slap on the wrist was for saving our Facebook passwords in clear text. So,
Which
kudos to the Internet Archive for having hash. Facebook, which was used as an authenticator for other websites, also put our names and passwords in clear text in some database. From one of the podcasts I listened to about this, there was somewhere around 2,000 employees had access to this database. And for the last 5 years, it had been accessed over 9 million times for various purposes. I'm sure it's all legitimate, no nefarious actors there.
You know what that was? It was somebody's temporary fix that became permanent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A
I'll just
temporary
do it.
fix that is functional becomes permanent.
I'll just do it this way for now until we figure out the right way to do it. Well, you know what they say about someday? Someday never comes.
That's why when I do a temporary, like we're actually doing it right now at one of our clients. They need a temporary network set up so that we can put in the big one. We're using copper clad aluminum, which I never recommend, wires to string things across for a very, very temporary network. That way, when we rip it out, it's cheap to rip out. And if somebody says, let's just keep it, it's not worth keeping. Because again, a temporary fix, if it works, is a permanent fix.
Yeah, it almost makes you want to put a time bomb on whatever you do. If it's a temporary fix, you're like, this will be fixed, but in a week, it's gonna blow itself up.
If only we could. Again, I think we should have that nutrition facts on the website. What is my data? The website's saving, and how is it saving it? Is it encrypted? Is it encrypted on disk? Is it encrypted in transit? These are the things we should know.
At the same time, wouldn't that also help anybody that is wanting to break in there to know what they're looking for? I mean, if they are required to put like specific encryptions, like this 256-bit encryption that we're employing here, wouldn't that be what they would be trying against it if they were trying to breach the site?
Yeah, so instead of doing like AES or Blowfish or any of those other encryption, they just go right towards the one you advertise.
Yeah.
It is a risk,
Well, I wonder if
but
there is. I
I'll take
mean,
the. Go ahead.
is it looks like it's the. I mean, I don't know which bureaucracy is the one that does it, but is it the FTC that manages data? You know, and all these data laws.
I think it's
One
the
of 'em.
FCC right now.
FCC.
It could actually cross boundaries depending.
Because I
It
know
could be
with
FTC
Marriott.
for some things. It could be FCC because it's a communications issue, and you could
Mhm.
count it as wire fraud. Um, yeah, I mean, and then the FBI gets involved if it's international. Maybe other agencies might be getting involved. So.
Yeah,
Postmaster General.
Mm-hmm.
hear me out. Creating more bureaucracy, mice. Is there some? But is there some sort of uh, a committee or I mean, I think of like IEEE. You know, they have standards.
I believe the CISA is in charge of that.
Or
Yeah,
CISA. You know, maybe if you want to, you
or
have to go
NIST.
to CISA and get CISA approved or something like that, or
NIST,
don't,
I
and then
believe, is
you have
actually a
to advertise it.
subsection of CISA or vice versa.
Either way, yeah.
I remember back in the day on websites when websites first started taking payment, that on the payment page where you're filling out the form with like your credit card information, I can't recall that I've seen this recently on every web page, but it seemed back in the day on every web page that took your credit card, there was some kind of a certification to say we secure the data with, you know, such and such. It's verified secure kind of thing. I don't remember if it gave details about what it was secured with, like an algorithm or whatever, but at least, you always tried to look for this is trusted, this is certified secure kind of thing. And that if you clicked on it, it went to a link to a reputable site that gave you more details about that. I don't know that I've seen that recently. If people moved away from it because things by default now have to be secure. I mean, HTTPS is now the
Well, you say
standard.
by default, but yet here's Facebook with clear text passwords.
Yeah,
Internal versus external.
right.
Data in flight versus data at rest. Yeah, so it's encrypted as it's moving from my system to Facebook, but it's not encrypted on the other side. So yay that.
So I got a question with the Facebook thing. Should we change our passwords?
Daily.
Every time you log
Change
in.
change your password.
Turn on your
Change-
multi-factor authentication. Watch for
So,
some suspicious activity and deny any attempt to log in that you know is not you.
so has Facebook fixed it, or are they still storing passwords in clear text? And what does timeline look like?
Well, considering it took them years to admit that they were doing it in the first place, I'm sure their answer was, I've got no literature to back this up, but I'm sure their answer was, it's fixed now.
Mm,
Usually
gotcha.
when the GDPR is violated, if they are still in violation, it continues to rack up for every day that they are no longer in compliance.
Your points compound daily for every infraction.
Pretty much.
I think the users should get a piece of that. Come on, where's my
I know, right?
piece of that pie?
I thought I was the one that was impacted.
Mm-hmm.
That also makes me think it's funny how we allow ourselves to believe that, you know, some company on the internet is, we just fully trust them with our data, you know, because I mean, think of it like this. We've all been somewhere or worked somewhere where you see poor management, right? I mean, it's clear as day. You see that. Um, Not here. Here we have great management. Be clear about that. But you go there and you can see the sloppiness, right? You see, it shows up in cleanliness and in the workplace cleanliness, or it'll show up in just organization in general. And so
Are you
you
sure
start
you're
to
not
think,
talking about us?
I, the workroom, that's its own thing. But just in general, I
You
mean, you
see the
can go
carpet now,
anywhere.
I'll tell you that.
um, but then you apply that to a company as massive as Google or Facebook, and you're gonna tell me that there's not a single, you know, manager in there that mismanages, or you're gonna tell me that every single employee there, as soon as they see a mess, they're cleaning it up. And I'm saying this all in the sense of, software or, bugs and things like that. I mean, it's going to be left a mess until someone comes in and starts cracking a whip. And so you're just hoping that Facebook is cracking the whip. And obviously they weren't.
Well, and that's actually indicative of one of the problems people are now saying Google's gotten old and complacent.
Mhm.
I'm on the fence on this, but you get a startup, two guys in a garage, or a guy working on his computer late at night. They bring an energy and an enthusiasm to work. They do the job so strong, so well that you can't keep up with them. And then you surround yourself with those kind of people. That startup mode for a company is um, it's intoxicating, right? You're changing things, and you change the things on a daily, if not hourly basis. But after you get around for 20 or 30 years, you put layers of bureaucracy, layers of management, people that are like, no, let's think about what we're doing here.
Mhm.
And it slows down the innovators. And the innovators actually jump ship because they don't want to slow down and think about all the minutia of all the things that are inconsequential to the excitement that they just had.
Mhm. Or even the great innovators and engineers, they make something incredible, and then, of course they move up and they start growing, and so they take a step back from the actual engineering and actual innovation, and they end up becoming, CEOs or, owners of a company, and they're I mean, it's it's a hard job, and it's not necessarily totally their fault, but I mean, they just have to hope that they can find somebody that will emulate what they did and then pass it on. Because I mean, as you start going up the totem pole, it's a triangular view. At least in my head, I'm trying to get this out into words. You have one guy at the top, and then under you, it just keeps expanding, right? And so you
Mhm.
have to hopefully find managers or people that are going to help emulate who you are into the rest of your staff. And so, I mean, it's almost impossible to be able to do that well, especially as you grow bigger and bigger. And so it's just unfortunate you see, uh this isn't necessarily a hit on them, but I mean Apple, everyone always talks about how Steve Jobs was the guy, like he was the one that was doing everything, and then ever since he stepped back, management changes and then Apple was never the same. Or you can say that just about any other company that's had a shift in management. And so I don't know, there's it's hard to do that from, the company side, and then it's hard to watch from the outside.
Well, and that's also one of those ones that it's hard to replicate, right? You get people analyzing how successful businesses got where they're at. You can't analyze and replicate Steve Jobs. You can't do that with uh, Elon Musk. You can't do that with any of these people that have made the world different and made lots of money doing it. Sorry, I got to tickle my nose.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Wow, that was a sneeze building for a minute. Apologize, everybody. I'm glad I hit the mute button in time. That
I
could have
thought you were
been
just getting
disastrous.
I thought you were just
Be
getting
clipped.
cheered up about this.
Mhm.
I wish we could have clipped it from real life, but that'd be good to clip that out. So here's the punchline on that. You can't package that kind of brilliance and innovator, and that's what small companies struggle to become. But then not every manager can follow those steps. Not every
Mhm.
employee can do what those leaders want, and that's the ever push pull, right? That's why some businesses get really big really fast, and other businesses fizzle out and die.
I would like to think that with the trend over the last, let's say, 20 years with cybersecurity and protecting information becoming more and more a hot topic, it seems every year we hear about more and more data breaches or a system that gets hacked into and compromised in some other way, that people now that are the younger crowd, like Jackson's crowd, that is starting to innovate. I think back in our day, when you look back at the days of the Apple II when computing was new, especially in the home computer use, like the idea of security just it wasn't it wasn't there. Like, let's just make it work.
Mhm.
And I think that there's a lot of things that have kind of come from that is that, Facebook started, they put together this platform, and it's like it was just let's just see if we can make it work, and they made it work. And security was such a afterthought that they've had to catch up and patch everything since then. I'd like to think that with as much as cybersecurity is in the news and in front of people now, that the security of a system or a thing or whatever it is you're making is going to be one of the foundation blocks that you build upon so that you're not having to run back and fix that temporary thing that you only intended to be temporary. You did it the right way the first time so that it's secure from the get-go. But only time's going to tell to see if that really happens. And the other challenge is that the hackers, they're still looking for ways to break into things they're even already secure. They're going to look for that loophole and that flaw, that thing that just doesn't quite work the way it's supposed to.
Mhm.
You know, the BIOS that has do not ship, do not use.
Yeah, don't do that. Like somebody put the note there for a reason. You're supposed to follow that, you know?
That's Mike, you say that talking about, starting with security. But then when you say that and I think of all these startups, I don't think they would have made it anywhere if that was their concern, right? I mean, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just think like, if you've got donors, if you've got people that invest in your company, they want their return, and you're gonna have to cut some corners to get there. So, I mean, that's not to say that's the way it should be done,
But are
but
they going to get their return if the thing ends up getting compromised 6 weeks after you put it out to
right.
the public? You know?
It's a fiduciary responsibility. You need to have the security in there because if those people, the entrepreneurs that need the investment, do not protect the investments, then they are also going to be liable on both counts because they'll be liable to the shareholders and they'll be liable to the public that, or even the regulators in this case, for the damage that has been caused by their lack of security.
Hmm.
True. I mean, of course, to a certain point, you have to hit that. But I mean, we think about, cybersecurity it's a constant effort. You can't ever say like, oh, we're done, we're secure. Like that's never a thing.
Right.
So at some point, you do have to call it good, even though it may not be real good.
Is it good or just good enough?
It's
Right.
got to be better than storing your passwords in clear text.
I agree.
I
And I
mean,
think as time goes
That's not even
on,
good enough.
the start the starting standard I think rises, right? I mean,
hmm
maybe it's a couple years behind, but at least, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, you definitely can't start with that. I mean, cybersecurity practices and securing your data, it becomes easier for people to do and more common, I think, as time goes on. But I mean, it's still behind.
hmm
That's fascinating. I mean, we all have an idea of what it could be, but 10 years from now, what's it going to look like? We've got the best encryption on the planet right now. Uh, you remember when triple DES was the top of security?
Triple what?
Jackson, you won't. You won't remember three
Uh,
DES.
apparently not.
Mike, you remember three DES encryption?
vaguely, yeah. I do remember that.
It was the top. It was so DES encryption. I forget what it's called acronym was, but you would
Mm.
encrypt and then decrypt with the next section and then encrypt it again. So it was going through the algorithm 3 times. Now we can. I think my watch
The
can crack triple DES.
the DES, it stands your watch. The DES stands for data encryption standard. So
Yep.
it was triple data encryption standard.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic in its day, and now it's child's play to crack through that. Our best security now is going to be the same thing. It's always going to be a cat and mouse game,
Yep.
and the cat and mouse trade places all the time.
There was an image that I saw going around that was showing where the computing decryption or that the password cracking ability of computers are right now, and it's got like at the top it's got number of characters in the password, and down the side is how much time it will take
Mhm.
for each one to be gosh, I'm butchering this. Anyways, the 14 character passwords that are alphanumeric can be cracked within a few days with just some basic computing power that we've got available to everybody right now. Now, if
Mhm.
somebody wants to invest some time into using, like the rentable Google processing powers, then it can go down to you know 18 character password that's alphanumeric can be cracked in a few weeks in a normal thing. So um
Could you
I
imagine taking an AI data center and throwing all those processors and GPUs and tensor cores, throw that at the problem?
if you
Instantaneous.
could use those in a quantum capacity, that would just be terrifying for password breaking.
You won't need it too much because the data centers almost have a same number of cores as it is number of combinations. I'm being joking here, but same number of combinations as your password creates. So just one core per option, and just the whole data center goes ka-chunk one time, spits out the answer.
Sorry, that's funny. Ka-chunk. Just-
That's a technical term, by the way.
oh, I'm just imagining just
All right,
I don't even know.
I
Entire
found the
The
data
lights
image.
center.
just dim for a second, and you're
Yeah,
back
just
online.
that's
I,
funny.
I found the image and I will explain it better. Left side's number of characters, and then going across the top, it's saying like numbers only, lowercase letters, uppercase, etc. So 8 characters, numbers only, cracked instantly with any technology that's out there. You go farther down, and with some of the quantum computing, even if you've got numbers, upper, lower, letters, and symbols, 18 character password can be cracked instantly with some of the advances we've had. So
Hey,
yeah, it's kind of scary where the people that can break into stuff are gaining access to tools and abilities that were unthinkable even 5 years ago.
so my new password is going to be the first page of the Bible.
Translated to what language?
No, that's for me to know. I'm not sharing that much information. That'd be silly to tell you what my password is. Oh wait.
for
Um,
for for anyone that's bilingual, I mean, I don't keep up on password algorithms, but oftentimes, you either if you're looking for words, you're looking in a specific language. So if you're trilingual, you can mix and match your passwords with words from different languages, and looks a little bit like nonsense.
or made up words like gimungus.
Right.
All words are made up.
It's not all in Webster.
What's you're saying there, Artie? To create to make bread from scratch?
No, it's that's actually a quote that's the guy that did Cosmos, Carl Sagan. In order to create apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe.
He's not wrong. I mean, when you really get down to it.
Maybe that's why this universe exists. God just wanted an apple pie. We're just along for the ride. Well, and there was a subject last week. Let's take this moment and pivot completely away from the conversation. Derail it with the comments we had from last week. We were looking at California's new law.
Right.
That was a fantastic one. Jackson, did you have that up on your screen?
I don't, but let me grab it.
So the legislators in California, it's going to be a rare moment that they actually get a home run. Again, I don't like regulators telling us how to live our lives, but this time I think they did a great thing. So, Mike, when you go and buy a season of The Simpsons on Amazon Prime, I'm sure they can't do that because it's a Disney thing.
Hmm.
When you buy an episode of, let's say, Burn Notice,
Mm-hmm.
that's yours, right? Well, it's revocable, right? If all of a sudden you're no longer with Amazon and you don't have this, or they lose their trade agreement with the root studio that made the show, it's in jeopardy of disappearing. Even though you bought it, it could evaporate out from your wallet. So
I've always
California,
I've always understood it to mean that I've bought the rights to view it on their platform.
and that's a good distinction. But
Yeah.
I think everybody has a sense of when they buy something, they own it.
It's not like the days of, 20 years ago. We'll even say 25 because I think we're getting to the point where 20 years ago is when we're just at the cusp of streaming. I mean, we already had iTunes at that point and music was becoming a thing. But let's say 25 years ago when I went down to Media Play, who remembers that store? Media Play.
Wow, that takes me back.
Yeah, doesn't that take you back? I go to Media Play and I pull a physical case for my favorite movie that just came out. And if I open it up, inside there would be a physical DVD disc, or even go back further, a physical VHS tape, or you had something tangible that this thing came on, right? And I could take it home and I could put it in my DVD player or whatever it is that's playing that media, and I could sit down, I could watch as many times as I want. I could wear the disc out if I wanted to, watching it over and over and over again, right? And that's what a lot of people today grew up on, got used to, that they went to the store, they bought it. I own this copy of, you know, Ghostbusters or Back to the Future, whatever the movie is, and it's theirs, right? Now, back in the day, we did have a problem with piracy, that people would take their copy of the movie and then they would put it on and make copies of it and distribute copies to their friend, and that's illegal because,
Two VCRs.
yeah, dual tape VCRs, or just having two VCRs hooked up together to play and record on the other.
I would have no idea how to do that.
Yeah,
Way
it,
20
it's
Easier than it
it,
sounds.
yeah,
Yeah, it really is. There's
but
an interesting technology to keep you from doing it, but that's for another podcast.
But
That's
that
some
that
hidden
was that
sarcasm
was
there.
the agreement, and you'd always get the warning at the start of, especially on the VHS tapes, because it's a sequential thing. You got to play the start. So right at the start, there's always the FBI warning that it's illegal to copy and duplicate this media and everything without written consent from the publisher, right? To be
I
able to do
forgot
that.
about those. Those don't
And
exist anymore,
on
do they?
top of that, there's also a license there at the start that says this is approved for home entertainment viewing only. So you can't go to Media Play, buy your copy of a movie, and then take it and then invite 300 of your closest friends and charge them $5 a piece to come watch the movie on your big screen like you would at a movie theater. It's not approved for that. So the idea though, but you bought something, you had something physically in your hand. Now we get to this streaming. I've bought something, but I can't physically hold it in my hand. But the mentality is still, well, I own it. I bought it. I bought this on Amazon Prime. It's attached to my account. I can pull it up. I can watch it whenever I want. Just log into Amazon. But is it really mine?
I think it is.
Yeah.
If I fork out $20 for a copy of first season of Burn Notice, I want to sit down and watch Burn Notice anytime I want. Never mind, the disagreements that these large studios and distributors have. It's mine.
hmm
And if I don't have that, then I want my money back.
I'd have to
But
agree
that's where
because
this law comes in. Jackson, did you
ultimately,
find it?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
ultimately, I pay my money to Amazon. Amazon, in turn, somewhere somebody paid money to that movie studio or production company or whoever it was that made the thing, because they got their money that came from my money. So somehow I own a piece of it. I have a right because I paid money. I'm with you, John.
Well, and there's some wise legislators in California. You won't hear me say that often because, again, I'm not one for regulators. But Jackson, tell us about this law.
Yeah, so this is coming from The Verge, and this legislation will force digital storefronts to tell customers that they're just getting a license to use the digital media rather than suggesting that they actually own it. So they will not be able to use terms like buy or purchase unless they inform customers that they're not getting unrestricted access. This then comes into effect where companies that break the rule can be fined then for false advertising, if that's the case. Now, while I was reading about this, this kind of started getting drummed up again recently because of Sony actually and PlayStation. Where two things that kind of happened both at once, where previously they had hosted Discovery, like the Discovery Channel content on the PlayStation that you could purchase and own. However, it turned out that Sony, which I think they walked this back, it seems like, it seems a little unsure. I don't know exactly, but they had announced that that users who had purchased Discovery content would no longer have access to it as of December 31st of last year. And so everyone was like, well, hold on, I bought that. Like, you can't just take it away. So I think that one was walked back. However, other things that did happen was PlayStation Network accounts. Some of them were randomly banned. They don't know why. It was for no reason. And then those who had purchased, their entire game libraries or whatever else they have on their account, all of a sudden they have no access to it. And so that was a huge thing. And then Sony, they're like, oh, sorry, and undid it. And then they never said, like, here's what we're going to do so it doesn't ever happen again. It was just, whoops. So that is kind of the state, kind of like Mike was saying, like, that's kind of where we're at. And then the California law is essentially saying, not preventing that from happening. However, in the future, when you go to purchase something, purchase quotes, you are no longer, they can't say that you're actually being able to purchase it. You have to say that you're either renting it or you have unrestricted access.
And for a distinction to add to that, there are services out there that you can actually purchase the content through. Like Steam is a platform that most people know about. On there, you get a license. They are going to have to be changing what their website, what their launcher says. But there's a company called Good Old Games that when you buy something, you can download a backup install copy of that. And that is
Your computer, yeah.
yeah, it's yours.
Mhm.
So
I like those kind.
But I like those because to me it's genuine. It reflects what you bought. It's I fork down my $20. I get my thing. I can use my thing whenever I want. That's been the whole thing until the computer revolution and licensing turned into a thing.
Mhm.
So it's going to be great to see how this licensing plays out. I hope. Well, the whole industry is filled with licensing, monthly recurring revenue, and ways of taking money from our hands, putting into big corporations' pockets, so they can find a better way of creating new content for us, or better experience, or more AI, or more crypto. Who knows what the buzzword is next week?
Pay out
But
their data breaches to the government.
yep, yeah. But whatever the buzzword is next week, I think we'll have to wait till next week to talk about that. It looks
and
like we're about out of time.
can I jump in and correct myself again regarding the password thing? I've shared the
Anytime you
image.
want to correct yourself, go for it.
So the instantly that I was talking about was actually the caveat was if the password has previously been released in a hack or a breach or anything like that. Any password that has been out there, consider it compromised, consider it dead, never use it again. When it comes to actually brute forcing, if you've got an 18-character password that uses numbers, upper and lowercase letters and symbols, it'll take approximately 26 trillion years as of last year's technology. And this is from Hive Systems, who has done the math.
This year, it's instant. Kind of crazy. We're
Cool.
shaving off all the years. It's moving fast. No, it's definitely wise advice there, Artie. Change your passwords, change it often, change it more often than you feel comfortable changing it, and make sure you have a password keeper and keep that password super safe. Hardware keys are your keys to success, and making sure nobody else gets into your archive of passwords. But yeah, let's wrap this up, guys. I hate to say it, but we are at that time. Until next week, I am John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Artie.
And I'm Jackson, and thank you all for joining us. This has been Close Encounters of the Tech Kind, and we'll see y'all next week.